And we'll go to the sprawling Territory seat of Lingiari now, where Labor's Warren Snowden is predicted to retain the seat, making it a likely 11th election win for the Labor veteran. But with the count still underway, the candidates are keeping mum for now. With the latest details, we're joined by reporter Thea Halpern in Alice Springs. Thea, Warren Snowden is such a rusted-on character in the Bush seat of Lingiari. What makes him so popular with Bush voters?
That's right, Nick. Warren Snowden has really widespread support in many Bush communities right around the Northern Territory. Not only has he lived in Alice Springs for decades and, of course, represented this electorate for 30 years, but even before entering politics, he worked for the Central Land Council and had a lot of interaction with people living in the bush way back then. Now, going around to Bush communities, you can definitely tell that there's a lot of frustration with politics, but you can tell that there is also a large and loyal following of Warren Snowden. Now, Warren Snowden has also had a bit of luck in this electorate. At the last election, he had an 8.2% margin, which was quite comfortable. A lot of that was down to the fact that there was a very unpopular Country Liberal Party in power in the Northern Territory at that time. Coming into this election, he said that he knew that margin was going to shrink. We can hear a bit from him now.
We had a high point at the last election in communities around the rural areas of Darwin. That's come off, and I expected that. I wasn't quite sure how big it would be. In some places it was very big, and that's something we'll need to analyse a lot more. But overall I'm really happy with the result.
Now, Thea, the Country Liberals really did fight hard for Lingiari. Just how close a contest was it?
So at this point, Nick, just over 65% of the vote has been counted. As it stands, Warren Snowden is sitting comfortably ahead. The figures are showing Snowden has 46.6% of the vote, with Jacinta Price on 36%. Earlier today, the Electoral Commission counted some additional Bush polls, which have pushed Warren Snowden slightly ahead. That was one of the big battlegrounds of this election. Jacinta Price spent a lot of time in those remote communities trying to gather as much support as possible. Looking at some of those Bush votes more closely, there is some very strong support for Warren Snowden. In many places, he gained around 70% of the first preference votes and even 88% in one of the booths.
And the Country Liberals candidate Jacinta Price was still hopeful long into the evening last night. Any word yet on when she'll make an official concession speech?
So I've spoken to Jacinta Price today, and she says that she won't be making any comments about the result tonight. Last night on her Facebook page, she said that she thinks Lingiari is a very difficult electorate to count, that results often come in after a couple of days with all of those remote Bush polls, so she's not giving up just yet. However, the former Senator for the Northern Territory, Nigel Scullion, last night did somewhat concede both lower house seats in the Northern Territory up in Darwin. Jacinta Price said that she always knew that this was going to be a very difficult seat to win. We can hear a little bit from her now.
I was never going to think that I could, do this with any kind of ease. It's been a challenge and it's been hard work, and I knew it would have to be hard work for the fact that he has won 10 elections before. And then, of course, yes, there is the other side of the coin where, people are wanting a change, and I felt that. I felt that everywhere I was going.
Now, Thea, Jacinta Price was a very visible campaigner with very strong ties to the area. Why didn't her campaign resonate with voters?
That's right. I think many people, not just here in Lingiari, but across Australia, really thought that she might be a shoo-in for this seat. She has been an Alice Springs Town Councillor and really used that to build a national media profile. However, some of her messages haven't really been resonating with people here in this electorate, particularly Indigenous voters over Indigenous issues. Now, she, as I said, has always said that it was going to be a very difficult seat to win, and it was really crucial for her to try and get those messages through to people in the electorate, especially as she was trying to unseat Warren Snowden, who has such a loyal following in this seat. Now, in terms of the incumbent candidate, I have spoken to Warren Snowden earlier today. He said that he was happy to just see how the postal and pre-poll votes come in before making any big statements, but actually just in the last 10 minutes, he has sent me a text message saying that looking at the results, he believes that there is no way that he can be overtaken.
Thanks, Thea. And that's our reporter, Thea Halpern.